Today's Tactical Tuesday looks at training cards in a different light. Which cards you can run with it, and which ones you can't. To reiterate, training option cards are new option cards introduced to Western audiences. These powerful option cards can be used while in the presence of their respective color in play, whether it be on the battlefield or in the raise. For 2 memory, you reveal the top 2 cards of your deck, add 1 card of that corresponding color, whether it be a Digimon, Tamer, or option card, then bottom deck the rest. Afterwards, you place this card into the battle area to use its delay effect anytime in the future. When you delay, you may digivolve one of your Digimon into a Digimon of that corresponding training card's color for a reduced cost of 2. Note, you could delay and do nothing. Why, that's a player's choice. But once you delay, that's your window of opportunity to use it or lose it. It's not like the option card from Master to Disciple that lingers through your turn until your next Digivolution. But the big question I'm sure many players are asking, which cards can you use it with? The Digimon trading card game has released over 14 sets so far, with 16 starter decks, 4 side sets, and over 100 promos. But this video aims to let you, my viewers, know what you can or can't do. For starters, the training option cards only work with cards that passively decrease cost. This could be the black box text for special Digivolution conditions, or even built into the Digimon itself. But in the case of BT6 Taikamiya and Matt Ishida, warping into Bond for 1 memory is not possible. But alas, here are the current cards in the Digimon trading card game that work in conjunction with training option cards. And we'll start with cards from BT1 and advance through the many different sets and even starter decks. Number 1. Smashed Potatoes. Smashed Potatoes is the precursor option card to Hidden Potential Discovered, and at this point, this card would not be played unless you're in a sealed or History of Digimon format. While its play cost is 2, and has a main effective for the turn, the next time you would digivolve one of your green Digimon from level 5 to 6, decrease the Digivolution cost by 4. It has no security effect that makes it valuable. Still, it's an option to consider as you make the passive effect throughout your entire turn. Number 2 is Beelzemon from BT2. While you have 10 or more cards in trash, your Impmon can warp digivolve into this card for a cost of 2, ignoring the Digivolution requirements. Because this card has a passive effect, it meets the conditions with the training option. One quick tangent I'd like to mention is that this Digimon may be a consideration for Beelzemon decks as a one-of moving forward. Because of the warp digivolving capability, you might be able to snipe those pesky level 4s before you attack. Because attacking now can be really bad sometimes. Number 3. Hidden Potential Discovered. After you saw Smashed Potatoes, you knew this card would also be on the list. And let's be real, this is a staple in green decks. Considering you can reduce by 5 on your next Digivolve, you can then crack a delay and make it a further reduction by 2. Maybe it is time to use Metal Life Kuwagamon and warp into Quartzmon for a cost of 2. But jokes aside, that's kind of disgusting. Number 4. Omni Shoutmon. Skipping BT4 altogether, BT5 offers several cards that can be used in conjunction with the training cards. This one being the first. As a result, you can now warp Digivolve from Shoutmon into Omni Shoutmon for a cost of 2. Sadly, this archetype has not seen too much support since BT5 and has largely been passed over now for Digicross decks. Still, I might tinker with something as a hard counter to my new favorite blue deck. Coming up on number 5 is Infamon. This Digimon can warp Digivolve from Caramon for a cost of 4, but with the defense training card, a cost of 2. Moving into BT14 and having access to another Black Diaboromon that's an ace Digivolution, this is a very viable combo when looking at it from a consistency perspective. Sadly, if you're in the preliminary stages of building this deck, do be aware that Arata Sonata and even Black Digimon like Mememon have effects that are only on your turn. A shame really, considering Ace Diaboromon is a great addition. At number 6, I will briefly discuss it despite it being a banned card. Who knows, maybe Bandai will errata the card or even bring it back at 1 copy. Mega Digimon Fusion is one of the few option cards that lets you reduce the Digivolution cost from level 6 to 7 by a cost of 6. Meaning effectively you can go into BT1 Omnimon without passing turn or even some of the X-Antibody variants. Sadly, at the end of the turn, return the Digimon that digivolved by this effect to the bottom of the owner's deck, then trash the Digivolution cards. Needless to say, I hope the card never comes back, even though right now there are a large number of level 7 Digimon that are not just white. While the unrestrictions of Tommy and Savior Huckmon gave some players hope that Mega Digimon Fusion may come off the restriction list, did you know that Greymon X and Metal Greymon Alterous mode would prevent the Digimon Digivolve from this effect from going to the bottom of the deck? Hashtag Greymon Busted. To close out on BT5, the 7th card for discussion is Omnimon X. This or Beelzemon could have honestly been the first black box text Digimon. However, despite the passive cost reduction, training cards won't work with this Digimon, and the main reason is, it's white. No training card currently facilitates any cost reduction for white Digimon. As a result, no color, can't Digivolve into it. BT6 introduces the 8th card for the discussion, being Deputymon. This Digimon can warp Digivolve into any Digimon with 3 Musketeers in its traits for a cost of 6. Unfortunately, if you want to base the deck in black, there are only 3 7-cost option cards based in black, and of these, only 2 are viable for Gundramon. Needless to say, I'm tempted at this point at looking at whether it's viable to make a black-red Musketeers deck with training cards. Now to Classic Collection, EX1 offered off-brand Mega Digimon Fusion in the form of Win Rate 60%. This card also costs 2, much like Smash Potatoes, but has the flexibility of being played off any color tamer. The other cost being a card in your hand to match the color of the Digivolving Digimon. Effectively, you can now combine the cost 4 reduction with a delay of training options for a 6 cost reduction total, making most, if not all, Digimon fairly cheap for a small price of 2 memory. The 10th card for discussion is BT7 Chaosdramon, but let's be real, the special text on it again is deserving of the black box. And although you could utilize a delay of training cards, it's honestly a waste for 1 memory. Besides, there's better Chaosdramon now. BT7 closes out the set with Lucemon Chaos mode. But for you to run delay options for this Digivolution, you'd risk bottom decking yellow Lucemon and trying to get that cost reduction. Overall, you could reduce by an additional 2 based on trash, but there's too much setup to make this really viable. From the second side set, EX2 Antilomon allows you to warp Digivolve your Lotmon if you have Suchong Wong in play for a cost of 3. With physical training, a warp Digivolve to level 5 for 1 is absolutely hilarious. I'm still working on a deck profile for this deck because I think there is some potential. And the last main set card to go over, of course, goes to BT14 War Greymon. Hindsight training options definitely help this War Greymon out, for the fact that if you delay first, you can warp into War Greymon for a cost of 2 and potentially keeping turn. Sadly, doing this will only ever guarantee you +1 security check and piercing, and not bequeath the additional checks from BT1 Tai Kamiya for the fact that you'll never have enough sources, X-Antibody or not. From the starter deck side of things, there are 3 cards to go over. Starter Deck 7 Guilmon and Starter Deck 8 Vmon are both Digimon with passive effects that allow them to warp Digivolve into their Royal Knight counterparts if there is a level 6 Digimon on your opponent's board for a cost of 4. While very conditional, delaying their respective colors would be beneficial to warp for a cost of 2, and have a higher chance of keeping turn. But the last card to go over is, of course, From Master to Disciple. I've hammered this option card repeatedly again and again in previous videos, but its delay effect allows you to reduce your next Digivolve by 1 on your turn, meaning that effect simply floats until you delay your training option. And while this Tactical Tuesday may have been much longer than any of my normal videos, you are now more informed on what cards work and don't work with the training option cards. Huge shout out to Robo Sushi, by the way, for assisting with the making of this video. I've dropped his channel link in the description as well, and if you're ever looking for rulings from a previous set, or even the current one, do check out his content because it definitely helps. Which decks will you explore moving forward? Let me know in the comments, as What If pushes the limits for another archetype to be fixed tomorrow. This is DigiPanda, logging out.